Welcome to
Every Day is Macaroni.
I'm Joy Alfred Brand.
And I'm Juliette Connell, and we're the hosts of Everyday Macaroni, the podcast.
This podcast is a look at the lighter side of life, where we talk about our adventures as a modern blended family.
So sit back, relax,
And prepare to have your funny bone tickled. Hello, our one and only listener. Boy, do we have a treat for you today. I know you will be very happy to hear that this episode is all about underwear tales. And that's T-A-L-E-S, not T-A-I-L-S. Though either one would be appropriate. We're also introducing a new guest on this episode, my sister Mickey. Shout out to her. Thanks for coming on. And we'll hear what she has to say about moon-shaped objects in the sky shortly. But first, let's jump into this episode, starting with Ron telling a story about my dad in the Underwear Olympian. Remember, while you listen, pants are optional.
So during COVID, on the way home, I'd stop in and check to see if he was okay and doing all right. Joy's like, yeah, you know, if you stop in or whatever. I was like, yeah, I'll stop in. Let him know I'll be there. And so she did. And then I show up and I get there and I knock on the door. And he's got the screen door because it's summertime. And he pops his head around the corner. And he goes, oh, hey, Ron. And then he comes up from around the corner because now it's a safe place. And he has his pants in his hand. And I'm thinking, why are they in your hand? Like, they should be on. And he's got his underwear, and he definitely didn't go for the tighty whities. They were quite loose. And I was like,
Oh, my God.
I have to look away.
But he was wearing underwear.
But he was wearing the underwear.
Well, that was a plus.
Because
Yeah.
you said he had his pants in his hand, and you didn't clarify that he had the underwear on his body and not in his hand.
Oh, no, he was wearing them. Tighty whities are supposed to be snug, like you're smuggling plums or something. But he was not. No, there was nothing snug about them. They were very, very loose. Gaps, lots of gaps. And I was like, it's a train wreck.
You can't look away.
You can't look away. You're just like, God, this is going to be in my brain forever. If I get knocked in the head and I forget who I am, I'm still going to remember there was a guy with very, very loose tighty whities on. But he was very nice. And he's like, hey, thanks for coming. He's like, and he tried explaining to me, I was just about to jump in the shower and take a shower and so on and so forth. So at least he put the underwear back on. So that was actually kind of nice of him.
Okay. So we all know that I don't typically want to get on the plane and let it just go down.
In a downward spiral.
In a downward spiral, which tighty whities usually make me do.
Uh-oh.
But when Ron was telling that story, I cannot believe that I also had a similar encounter.
You saw her father in his tighty whities?
No. But the girls were little and we had just moved to North Carolina. There was some freak snowstorm and it happened all within like an hour. My sister-in-law and I were at the gym and she had driven there. And one of the guys while we were working out was like, oh my gosh, it's actually snowing. You know, it's snowing pretty hard or whatever. So we decided, all right, we're going to get in the car and we're just going to leave so it doesn't get bad. So we get in the car and we go, and she's saying, oh my gosh, it's really, really slippery. We get to one point on the road on the way home that was so icy that her car went off of the road, right? And it swerved into grass and we were fine. So we stayed out there and we're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And at this point, we start seeing kids walking on the street. Now, this is not a highway or anything, but it's a rural 2-lane highway. And we roll down the window and we're like, what's going on? And it's a high school student. He goes, oh, do you want it? I'm going to push your car, if you don't mind, over to this grass on the other side. It'll be safer there because we're
walking here.
Because we were on some sort of embankment or whatever. So he pushes us over there and we just stay there. It was in some person's front yard. So at this point, of course, now this has been going on for like an hour or so. We're sitting in the car. We're trying to get cell service. We can't get cell service to see if the kids are okay or whatnot. So we both have to use the bathroom. So we're like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? So we get out of the car that's in, this grassy area, and some guy comes up to the car. And we thought he was one of these houses that were right here. We were in their yard, right? And he's like, oh, hey, I saw what happened. You guys are sliding and whatnot. When you've been here a while, why don't you come inside and we'll try to get the phones working or whatever. You can use our landline. And we thought, oh, that was really nice. Well, we start walking and follow him. We just kept walking through that guy's yard and into the guy's backyard and then through these little teeny, sparse woods. And I'm thinking to myself,
oh, you're going to get murdered.
I cannot believe that I am stupid enough to be doing this, but I'm still doing it. I'm thinking that to myself and I'm still doing it. My legs are still carrying me and my sister-in-law is right in front of me.
Over
and I'm
the
like,
river and through the woods to get murdered we go.
We're all going. Now it was the light of day too. I mean, we're talking, it was like 1:00 in the afternoon.
Doesn't matter. Still about to get murdered.
That's exactly what I was thinking. So we go to his house. His house was behind these other houses and they kind of shared a backyard. And we go into the house, and just as we get to the house, he knocks on the door, and his mother, I guess he lived with his mother opens the door for us. And I guess I didn't pay a ton of attention at first. She's like, hey guys, yeah, whatever his name was. He said you guys were out there. I've made some tea. Why don't you guys come in?
Let's call him Bubba.
Right. And, Bubba had already gone inside. So I was like, and so my sister-in-law goes in very casually. And just as I'm passing her, I realize that she's got on a pajama top and only underwear. No bottoms, but the underwear. And
a butcher knife in her hand.
And I thought, oh my God. Now what I was thinking, because you're always thinking to yourself when you're thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be killed. This is so stupid. I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be doing this. But in the back of your mind, you're like, yeah, okay. That only happens in the deep woods in Louisiana somewhere.
Yeah.
Juliet's like,
not in the deep woods of North Carolina. No, never.
Juliet goes, I want to see where this goes.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure that I was thinking that. But so I walk into the house, and my sister-in-law does not realize what's going on until I'm looking at her and I kind of signal her to look, and she now realizes what's going on too. And she goes, I need to use the bathroom. And I was like, what? You're going to leave me here by myself with these two? So now I'm in the kitchen with a son and a mom who has no underwear. Now, the son was probably about, 40 at the time. And the mother was, 70. And she goes and uses the bathroom. Well, I knew what she was trying to do. She was in the bathroom trying to make a phone call. So, of course, before she goes, the woman says to her, oh, I've got some tea on. Would you like some? And of course she says, yeah, sure.
I got my pants in the bathroom drying on the line.
No, she's like, disregard the dead cats hanging in the bathroom.
No, there was no
I use
mention.
them as shower curtains.
Oh my God. There was absolutely no mention of the fact that she had no pants on. None whatsoever.
Of course. Who's going to mention it?
To them, it's normal.
Yeah.
I guess so. So at that point, I started to sweat. And she
Did
wasn't
you then
coming.
take your clothes off?
No.
Oh, wait, you're in your underwear. I might as well. And I got a good reason. I'm getting hot.
No. So I go into the other bathroom. And he's like,
What,
oh,
there was
yeah,
more
yeah.
than one?
Yeah, there was like a
Wow.
master with
That's
one. But it was a
Oh.
tiny little
Palatial.
ranch.
These people had money.
Ranch bathroom, right? I later on, I come to find out who these two people are. But I go in, and he, leads me to this bathroom
from a wanted poster.
I know, right? And I get into the bathroom, and it has no lock.
Of course not.
So of course, I am trying to use the bathroom while I'm holding the door shut with my foot. And I was just like, oh my God.
Did you notice the camera, though?
It was inside the toilet.
No, but I could hear my sister-in-law in the other bathroom. I guess they were back to back, trying to get on the phone. I don't know if she was calling someone or what she was doing.
Were you guys using the tap code like the POWs do? Ta, 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 ta.
SOS.
It was just incredible for me to even think that this was going on. I mean, it's like one misfortune after the other, right?
I wouldn't call that a misfortune. I would call that you were lucky. To this day, you have a great story to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
is
alive
that
to
it?
tell it.
Yeah, you're
so-
alive to tell it, and nobody tried to scalp you or steal your shoes or anything like that.
Well, I did get out, and my sister-in-law sits down next to me, and the lady gives her the tea that she had just made. But it wasn't hot tea.
Perfect
it was
timing.
cold tea with ice.
Perfect
I
timing.
see, yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
That was your cue to run.
I know. Well, they wanted...
You should have left her there. Be like, you got your tea. See ya.
We did at that point. They were like, "Oh, you could stay for dinner or whatever," and we were just like, "Oh," and then we were trying to make up whatever excuse you could possibly
I
make
don't eat
up
squirrel
to leave out
because
of
it's
here.
high in cholesterol.
So we had, I can't remember at this point now. I think we had called, and the schools were out. And they were keeping all the kids in there until someone could come by and pick them up. So
That's exactly what that lady does. She keeps all the kids.
Hansel and Gretel,
creepy.
huh? So we ended up walking all the way to the school. To get to the school was probably about 3 or 4 miles. We picked up our kids and also some neighbors of hers. And then we took the kids on like a 5-mile hike from school all the way to the house. And at that point, there was a lot of snow on the ground, and none of us were dressed for it. I mean, we were dressed in workout stuff, so it was sneakers.
And you couldn't ask that old lady because clearly she didn't own much clothing. You should have been like, keep her. And then while she's drinking the tea, and then as you're running away, you could look back and go, she'll make either a good wife or a skin for your lamb.
Oh, my God. Attention Kmart shoppers. We're having a blue light special on pants until 10 p.m. tonight. So if your social life is on the skids because you aren't wearing pants, send one of your adult children on down to your local Kmart and have them pick you up a pair of Martha Stewart polyester specials. Remember, to improve your social life, there's nothing like wearing pants. It's a good thing. This podcast has not been sponsored by Kmart or Martha Stewart.
Oh God, no! But that was some odd, I don't know, story.
Well, she was probably neighbors with Joy's father because Joy's father, he doesn't have air conditioning.
Oh,
And so he
I forgot
walks
about
around
this.
with his underwear on, obviously.
No, that's not what happened.
Yeah. And then he went outside because there was a squirrel he was trying to catch. And so he ran outside and he's trying to
his
get
dinner.
Lucky the squirrel. And he turns around and the door closed and he locked himself out of his trailer.
With his underwear on only?
And he's wearing his underwear.
Ah.
So if you could picture what, at the time he was probably like 80 years old, an 80-year-old man walking around in his underwear in a
his
trailer,
loose, tidy whities.
which you probably think, yeah, so. But what was funny is he was locked out, and so what was it? He had to try to climb in through the window. So he had to
Well-
break into his house, right? In his underwear. And then didn't his underwear get snagged on a nail?
Oh my God.
No.
You tell. What happened to him?
Okay, so Dad lives kind of out in a rural area in a little mobile home. And
Sound familiar?
Yeah.
No, because that one has more bathrooms. So he lives in his little mobile home, and he does have air conditioning, but he likes to go out and take
Al fresco.
He likes to go out and take the warm summer air and listen to the crickets when it's nighttime, right?
Ah, it's a cool,
right.
warm, gentle breeze.
Hang on a minute. Let's ask my sister if the unidentified shining object in the sky was really the moon and how she thinks it got there. We were talking a little bit about Dad earlier in this episode. We haven't really talked about him too much.
Yeah.
Some.
Well, we should.
Well, there's so many funny stories and there's so much to explore there.
Right.
And I wondered if you had a funny story that you could relate quickly. I know the one I want you to tell.
I'm wondering if it's Dad locking himself out of the house.
Yes. Please. Since that happened, basically, you're as close as I have to firsthand knowledge of that. So you got to tell that story. Because actually,
God,
I think, Juliet, you and I have talked about that before, haven't we?
Yeah.
Now, you got to tell the story. Yeah.
Okay, the thing is okay, so let me preface this. I'm not the one with the funny bone. You're the one with the funny bone. So and
Sometimes it writes itself. Though.
Yeah, no worries there. I mean, the
It
same thing
does.
happened to me, except I was fully clothed.
Okay, you got to tell the story. Tell the story.
So bear with me while I try to remember the order of events. I think what happened was Dad was not yet used to living at this different place. And gladly, I happen to know that it was very warm out. And the reason
Thankfully.
I say that, yeah, no kidding. So it was very warm out. And the reason you can be sure about that is because because he had the massive heart attack, he's always cold. So the only time he's comfortable is when it's super hot. So I happened to call him up and we were at one time. I'm like, hey, Dad, how's it going? And Dad.
Okay, wait. So you were on the phone with him the day this happened?
It was not the day that it happened. I call him up. I'm like, how you doing, Dad? And he's like, well, I locked myself out of the house.
Ah.
You did? And yeah. And I said, now? And he's like, no, the other night, locked myself out of the house. Oh, no. And I said, well, how did you get in? Instead of telling me how he got in, he says, well, it was really warm out. And I thought, well,
I want to go take the air.
I'm going to go take the air, right? I'm going to go out and get myself some fresh air. And it's before he had built the walls and the roof on that little back, what do you call it? The back stairs.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm
Right?
not going to call it a deck. I'm going to call
No.
it
A stoop.
I'm going to call it some type of badger trap. Yeah, that's what it is.
It's definitely not.
It's
it
a
wasn't
rattle trap.
deck. It wasn't a deck. It was.
Oh,
then.
wait. Let's make sure we're using the correct. It is not a deck because it's
No.
still there.
And it's not a deck. It's just
And it's not square.
No.
So what is it? Just a flight of stairs and then a little
It was
stoop
just
on the
flight.
top?
It's just a stoop.
Are you
That's what it
familiar
is.
with Emmett Otter's jug band?
Oh gosh.
So, which is a funny. There's a
me
funny
a
story there.
Listener, as a bona fide child of the 80s, okay, maybe 70s, but who's counting, and a dyed-in-the-wool Muppets fan practically from birth, I cannot pass up the opportunity to give a shout-out to Emmett Otter and his jug band. As far as I know, this Jim Henson production only made one appearance back in the day, meaning 1977, and that was for their Jug Band Christmas special. It was a magical account of Emmett and how he did odd jobs around his community, including mending Mrs. Possum's fence and Mr. Frog's stairs for a living. If you haven't seen it, you are missing out. It's a fun musical the whole family can enjoy, and the resemblance between Emmett and my dad is purely coincidental. We now return to our podcast that is already in progress. You know the beaver that built the dam?
Yeah.
With a bunch of sticks and some mud.
Yeah. Well, no, because the stoop was already on the trailer. So it's just it's a small little wooden deck. It's just the platform with the stairs coming down to get up to the trailer, to the entry, the back door of the trailer. And there was one in the front.
Is anyone
And
else
so-
hearing banjos?
If they don't, they will be.
I'm just saying.
So he's like, I decided to go out and take the air, and I stepped out onto the porch, and the door closed behind me, and I was like, uh-oh. And then I realized I was in trouble. No kidding. I said, about what time of night is this? Oh, it was dark. Oh, it was probably about 10 o'clock, 10:30. I said, so what did you do? Did you go over to the neighbors? Did you have your phone with you? Could you call somebody? Oh, no. I couldn't do that. Why couldn't you just go over and ask your neighbor to give you a hand? And he's like, because when I stepped outside, honey, I only had my underpants on.
Oh, jeez.
And, well, I'm not even going to get into the side story there. But so he's like, I didn't have anything on but my underpants. Oh, no. Yeah. And so then.
There's a benefit to living out in the country, right? Where there's
I'm
not
like,
very many people around. Just the wildlife to scare.
But the trouble is that he's got a light on his property.
Oh, jeez. You can't unsee that.
Would that be considered the moon?
No, there was a light on the property back on the other side of the drive at the end of the trailer.
Reflecting off the moon.
that would shine at night on the back of the trailer so he could see if he wanted to go out, right? Because that's where he would park his car. And I was like, oh, Dad, you went out in your skivvies? Yeah, I didn't think anything about it. It was nighttime and it was hot. And I just didn't bother. I just stepped out onto the porch. And before I knew it, the door shut behind me. And I was like, uh-oh, you couldn't go to your neighbors. And I started laughing, right? So I start laughing. I'm trying not to laugh. This is really funny. I know I would be laughing at myself and also mortified. And he didn't seem as mortified, but he's like, yeah, I couldn't go over to the neighbors because I stepped out in my underpants. And I said, so what did you do then? Well, I got that shed out there. And, oh, here we go. And Dad is resourceful. And I said, oh, yeah, you went and got a ladder. He's, well, I didn't quite have a tall enough ladder. So he basically got the ladder that he had. And I don't know if he tried to set it up on something or what he did, but it was enough. It was enough that he placed it up against the trailer.
You know what I'm thinking right now? Cue the Benny Hill music.
Right?
And then speed this up, right?
That's exactly. And you know what I think is coming next, right? So he climbs up whatever contraption he set up that he's pulled out of
all
that.
I can think of is Home Alone, where the guy's in the basement and he's trying to get out the hole, and he fell through the hole in the floor into the basement, and he's trying to build himself a pyramid of like boxes and ladders and stuff to try to climb out. Except that guy's wearing pants.
And that's exactly what it sounded like Dad did. Is he just went around, and so Joy, you will know what his shed.
Oh dear.
I mean, what his shed.
You mean his rattle trap contraption that he's put together with like popsicle sticks and gum wrappers? And a giant padlock, so no one can steal my stuff. With a group of badgers living in it.
Maybe under it, but because it was up on cinder blocks, right?
Of course.
So he built his shed up on cinder blocks. And for him, that's okay because Grandpa's tobacco barns were built on cinder blocks. Barns all over that area are on cinder blocks.
I gotta keep my stuff off the ground.
Yeah, you got to keep it off the ground so it don't rot. And so he goes to his shed and he goes around the yard picking up stuff to try to build his cardboard pyramid to get into the house because there's this little window.
In the bathroom, right?
I don't know if it's a bathroom. Does he have 2 baths?
He does, yes.
Okay, so it must be a bathroom window.
Oh, God.
So
it's the window right over the toilet, right?
Probably.
Holy moly.
Well, as long as it's not the window over the bathtub full of walnuts that he has.
Oh, no, that's in the garden tub down the hall at the end of the trailer.
Oh, jeez.
He had filled the garden tub full of black walnuts that had not been, had the...
Well, he needs something
outer...
for Christmas. Christmas gifts.
Nuts for the paper bags.
Paper bags. Now you know where Joy got nuts in her stockings at Christmas. Only they weren't. He took the outer layer off. He gets the ladder up to the window. And you want your brain, you're like, stop it. No visualizing. Do not visualize what your dad is telling. Nope.
I know
Nope,
I am.
don't do. The brain is trying desperately.
I'm blind.
Can't unsee
I'm
that.
blind. The brain is trying desperately to not, and he's like, so I get all this stuff and I put it up against the wall, get up there, and I can't get the window open. Oh no. So
I hollered for my badgers.
Huh?
I hollered for my badgers and my raccoon friends with your little hands.
He's like, I couldn't get in. I so oh my
So what
God.
happened? I'm sorry. I interrupted. I'm sorry.
Oh no. And at this point, he had called his neighbor to the rear. I think by this point, he had called him to the rear. Uh-huh.
Well, yes, that's where they'd be pushing him in from. The rear.
Oh.
Okay, so he shimmies up his makeshift
So he finally
ramshackle whatever contraption.
He's trying to get the window open. I think it takes him some time to get the window open, and he finally manages to crawl into the window. But then once he got in, I think he went in head first.
Oh, no.
He ended up on the floor of the bathroom. Oh my gosh, Dad. You got to figure out something so you don't lock yourself out anymore.
I know, because they don't make tidy whities with pockets.
Yeah.
All I can say is there were 2 moons visible that night.
Well, and that was the crack. So I was like, here, so he started.
Wait, what was that?
I'm like, well, that was the crack.
Oh, dang.
Oh, you're welcome, everybody. You can't buy entertainment like this.
I'm sorry. So when he told me that he was in his underwear and I tried not to laugh, it became clear that I was laughing, and Dad starts to laugh. So Dad is laughing, and he laughs the rest of the way through the story, even through falling into the bathroom head first. And, I told him, I said, oh, man, Dad, whew, I'm so glad I don't live close by. That's more moon than what I'd prefer to see. And Dad just lost it. I was actually shocked. He's not a potty humor kind of guy. So I don't know where we got that from, but
because we're normal people. Because everybody thinks that stuff is funny. They just might not admit it. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Except for Dad. Dad, he's very, very prudish that way. Yeah.
Very prudish that way.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to tell that story. And
you're welcome. It's been nice to laugh.
It is, and there's plenty to laugh about, and maybe we'll have another opportunity to talk some more about Dad and his shenanigans and how tidy whities ought to have pockets in them.
It's a whole new series, isn't it?
It is. And now for a few final thoughts about Dad building his cardboard pyramid, starting with sawhorses dragged from beneath the family of badgers living in his shed. Rickety, but still quite impressive.
So can I please interject? Here we are. There's a man who's 80 years old in only underwear. Okay. If anyone knows what a sawhorse is, that top is just a 2x4 with then 4 little 2x4 legs. And he managed.
That he probably built himself, which is meaning pretty rickety.
So
probably
he
not level.
manages to get on top of the sawhorse, balance on top of that sawhorse. Right?
Like a gold medal gymnast.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking. And then wedge his body through a bathroom window onto a toilet.
Yep, like a skilled
I don't know what's underneath
high
the window.
diver.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Yeah. He should be in the Olympics.
Well, you got to understand, my dad, he's got a constitution that he could survive nuclear war or...
People of that generation are like that.
Yeah,
though.
he's like an armadillo, right? He could survive nuclear war until at one point he just...
Yeah.
But Dad, he's pretty strong and he's pretty hardy, generally speaking. Now, he's getting older and he's got some cognitive decline there.
But
he
in
put
general,
that porch on by himself, which
Oh,
was
yeah.
actually quite impressive for now. What is he? 84
quite impressive, if
for
not
an 84-year-old man to do.
level.
And he didn't have blueprints or drawings. He only had
why
a
do you need
Looney Tune
blueprints or
cartoon
drawings?
to go
Yes,
off of,
That's right.
and it was
And
pretty
he built
accurate.
it exactly to specifications, which means not level.
He drew it just like Bugs Bunny did.
I see.
I don't know about you, but I laugh so much, my cheeks are hurting. Now, come on. You know that's funny. I'm sure you can see why we called this episode Underwear Olympian. But seriously, people, try to remember your pants when you are 1, venturing outside for any reason, 2, inviting strangers into your home, again, for any reason, or 3, just answering the door. Your family, neighbors, and local wildlife will thank you. This has been a public service announcement from the United States Department of Underwear Crime Prevention. Y'all come back now, you hear? I hope you enjoyed listening and sharing a laugh or two with us. Stay tuned for more Everyday Macaroni adventures on future podcast episodes. And if you want to see some pictures of us, you can follow us on Instagram by searching @EverydayMacaroni or #EverydayMacaroni. In fact, you should be able to find us on YouTube soon. Just search Everyday Macaroni on YouTube and our new channel should pop up. If you want to shop for some fun macaroni merch, head over to everydaymacaroni.com. Don't forget, if you have a blended family story to share, email us at info@everydaymacaroni.com and put the word share in the subject line. Your story might end up on a future episode, and how fun would that be? Finally, don't forget to give us a good review and download your favorite episodes. A share wouldn't hurt either. The more interaction we get for the podcast, the more episodes we can post. Again, thanks for listening, and join us for the next episode of
Every day it's